This is Sean Labelle, and you're watching the Three Count Podcast.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And with this being season 6 and our 430 something episode, I think it is what it is. I just hope you would treat me like your tribal chief and acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring today? You can find this man at ACW. You can find this man at Riot Maker. You can find him at PPW, and he is growing and growing and growing. He is a young star. He is my mentee, and he is the man that he is here today. He is the one, the only, the beautiful Sean Labelle.
What's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, Brody? So I couldn't think. I had gone out and I know I put up on Facebook. So if you guys don't know, if you follow me on Facebook, you know who I am. Then you can check out. I put up like a request and I was like, "Yo, man, let's bring the show back." I hadn't done it in a couple months. Like I was just telling you before we even got started, had some mental health things kind of going on. So I was like, "Let me take some time off and then get back to it." But you were the first one to jump in my DMs as soon as I put up there, like, "Yo, bring the show back," and you're like, "Let's go! I want to get in." I was like, "All right,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
go."
bro. Yeah, for sure. Let's chop it up, see what's going on, and
Hell yeah. So it was funny because we met, it was like a year and a half ago now, right?
I think around summer, spring of 24, around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you were just like, you had just talked about like football and stuff like that, like high school wise. And I was like, all right, cool, cool. We got to talking and stuff and chopping it up. And then kind of kept a little bit of a relationship going on. And then next thing you know, I just saw you and your debut match in ACW with Ben Bishop, who coincidentally was also my first match. My first like match I had was with Ben Bishop, and then also the first guest of Now Entering was Ben Bishop. So it's funny that there's all these little parallels that kind of sneak around.
Right. Yeah. No, Ben was a great first match, dude. I'm dying to get the opportunity again with Ben, dude. He's doing amazing things. I mean, everyone sees it. What he's doing, it's great. So happy for him. But no, I remember you telling me that he was also your first match. I think I was. I want to say I started training very beginning of March 24. So I want to say I was maybe 2 months in when we first met
Yeah,
around. Yeah.
yeah. I feel like I had came down for a show, and I've been with SWA. And I was just like staying the night at Sicken's place, and then like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll stay around for a little bit and bump around the ring for a sec and stuff like that. And so I just stayed and helped out a little bit, and then I had a 7 hour drive back to Massachusetts, and so I was like,
Oh, that's
yeah,
rough.
I go and hang out for so long.
Yeah, no, I get it. I remember you telling me you're like, yeah, I got a long ride ahead of me. I was like, oh, I was wondering, like, oh, how far is the ride? You're like, oh yeah, it's 7 hours. I was like, oh, all right, yeah, no worries, bro. If you need to get on the road, go ahead and get on the road.
Yeah, but since then, man, like I said, like I've been watching, seeing you. You had a matchup with Sugar Dan at PPW, and then like you know, you and Travis, like who also Travis Norbert. Yes, yeah, that guy. He's been on the podcast too, so it's been funny just to kind of see you guys grow into like the workers that you guys have become.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. Like when it comes to Dan and Travis, I think so. Getting into the business, I got in through Ellsworth, and Nick Taylor both trained me. But outside of those two, the my two guys that I think have just became brothers to me now are of course Dan and Travis. Like those guys, I don't know if I could still make it through some days in wrestling without those guys. They're there for great guidance, leadership, and then just ultimately fun, man. Like when I'm working and it's you're doing something with like every time in PPW it's always a riot maker, you're always doing something with Travis. But when you're working with Dan and Travis, it's so easy, it's so fun, it's calm, it's a great atmosphere, and I don't know where I would be without the help of those two guys.
Yeah, no, they're great, and it's funny because I remember like being there the first day that Travis was bumping, like just learning how to do anything and like learning how to roll and stuff like that. And I was like, dang, bro, like I was like, and he's like, well, I just want to be a manager. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, we could take manager bumps, we could teach you how to do these kind of things, and you just work on it and get as good as you can get. And then like I remember me and Sigan were talking, and he goes, do you guys mind if I like put together a practice match? We're like, have at it, bro. Like you've been here for a long time. Like we want to see what you can do too. And then like he did a practice match, and we were like, hey, yo, man, you may not want to do this manager thing. You may want to actually try to get into this. And he was just like, you think? And I was like, yeah. And then it started taking off from there. I was like, all right, now we're doing some things.
Yeah, I know one thing he's been hitting on very like more so often than not because he is on the older side. He's like he always tells me he's like, dude, I want to wrestle more. I want to wrestle more. I want to wrestle as much as I possibly can. Because obviously, unfortunately for him, it's like that time clock. Father Time's undefeated. But bro, Travis can go in the ring. I don't think many people like when I first met Travis. I tell Travis all the time. I was like, he was in character when I first met him. So I'm like, like, whoa, okay. And then he comes up to me and he talks to me in his regular tone of voice. And I'm like, whoa, slow down. He's like, oh, that was just I was like, oh, really, really. And then just from there, though, but man, he can go in the ring. I don't think enough people know how well he can do in that ring. And I think he also underestimates himself. Like, there would be times before the show where me and him are messing around in the ring and he's like, I wonder if I could do that. I'm like, dude, trust me, you got it. He'll try whatever said thing is, and it's like, boom, you're good. Yep. Like, such a
Yeah.
fast learner. It's really natural for him, dude. Like, charisma in ring, he's very, very good.
And I remember how much of a shell like he was in, and then he started tinkering with the idea of doing the state the state commission character, and then like just seeing it just kind of like break out little by little, and you can see like these layers unpeel from him and stuff. And I was like, yo, this is gonna be a lot of fun to do. And I actually did a pro. My last when I was living in Maryland, my last promo I did with Riot City, and I wanted to feature as many of the students as I could. So Nick, myself at the time, Ron was there, Matt Wild, Travis. There's a bunch of other ones. Mason Martin was there. Rico Hendricks was there. We all did like this mashup, like Avengers thing. I included my daughter. She was in the promo. I wanted to bring as much as I could, like eyes to it, and so yeah, it was a fun promo to do. And then yeah, then it just I don't know, it was hilarious, and just seeing Travis with that whole "that's right" kind of thing. I was
Dude, you
like,
got everyone does it. Everyone doing it, man. Well, there would be fans come up to us after like a show at PPW, and they'll come up and they're doing it. It's so catchy, bro. I mean, he has gold with what he has, man.
yeah.
It's incredible. Everywhere he goes, there's always attention on him. If something happens to him, if someone beats up Travis, crowd goes nuts. You would have thought someone won $1 million. It's insane, dude.
Bro, when he came up with the safety sunset flip, I
Yes,
was
yes. Safe set flip.
crying. The
Yes,
safety flip
yes.
is so dumb, but it's so good. Like,
I don't like the amount of air time that he has to get when he's hanging on to you and his legs are just kicking up in the air. But it gets me every time. I
yeah,
can't.
and it's cool too, because like even for me, like no, one thing that Travis and I talked about a lot is age, right? Because I don't know if you know this, but like I turned 40 back in September, and like now I'm looking at it too, where I'm like, man, I love doing this, but I know I got a couple years left, and that's really gonna be about it. And I just kind of want to, probably ease off, take a hiatus from this, and then maybe come back every once in a while, just have some fun, but nothing like over the top. No full time, no try to get full time schedule. Just kind of like here and there, just kind of do the weekend, maybe like the weekend thing, and then just have fun, and that's it. And yeah, and really, I just want to be a resource for people to help them whatever they want to get to, whether it's like reaching out, taking on this podcast, or doing whatever. But I
Right.
just I understood, like I was like, yo, time is ticking, and I know where I'm at.
Yeah, dude. Like it's crazy that I mean it sounds crazy, but like I don't know, man. Like I turned 20 a week from today, and I'm like, man, like man, dude. But I remember when you first told me how old you were, like it's like, oh, you don't look that, you don't move like you still
Yeah,
like plenty of treads left on the tires, dude. But like I understand, like life's life, you definitely other responsibilities. Like I always say, like before anything, I'm a man at the end of the day. Like if you have other things you need to get done or other things that you want to use said time for, yeah, no problem with it. Because bro, at the end of the day, wrestling is always going to be here.
yeah.
It's not going anywhere for anyone. So
And I always thought about it to myself, like I have so many different ways I like to contribute to the business anyway, whether it's like making like highlight films or putting together packages or just even doing promos or just doing this podcast. Like you guys all see, I've been doing this for 6 years now. Like it's been a lot of fun. So I don't have no ill will, no problems. Everything is man. If I hung it up today, I'd be content. I'd be happy with what I did because I mean, I wrestled the top two names that I wanted to wrestle from this year. So I got them knocked off my list, and one of those guys was like an all time person too. So and I've got to work. I've got to do a lot of cool stuff. So I'm very happy with what I've done in my career so far. And there's more goals, of course, but I also understand that like I said, time is not on my side. But this ain't a podcast about me, man. It's more about you. But what got you into the business, though, man?
into the business, ever since I've had the ability to remember anything. My great grandfather, my dad, my older brother used to always watch wrestling. All of them just always watching wrestling. So I'd always see it, always be like, "Oh, that's cool." My first real memory was uh Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Dominic Mysterio custody ladder match. Um, obviously it was before my time, but just watching it like on replays.
Yeah,
But then I really, really fell in love with wrestling and like really started keeping up with it on a weekly basis. I think around early 2014, The Shield. I saw guys in tactical gear, and I like loved military stuff when I was a kid. I saw wrestlers in tactical gear, and then this guy had a streak of blonde hair on half his hair. I was like, that's the guy. He's cool. And he jumps off the top ropes and jumps out of the ring. I was like, this is a guy. So Seth really had me fall in love with wrestling, his style of wrestling, how he did everything, the look, and then just it always being on. I could never get around it, you know what I mean? Even if I didn't like it, it was, oh, I walked through the living room, here's wrestling. So just that, wrestling with my little brothers all the time, dude. I mean, all have our toy belts. We all trying to politic against each other, who should win, who shouldn't win. Crying if you lost, like, dude, it was always in the household for me.
that's funny. I was the same way, man. Like my aunt was the reason why I got into the love of pro wrestling, and it's funny because I remember the custody battle match. Even before that, like I watched Eddie and Ray '97 for Starcade, or not sorry, Halloween Havoc.
Mhm.
One of my favorite matches all time. And then even before that, man, my first memory of wrestling was watching Jake the Snake Roberts have his Cobra bite Macho Man. Like forever will be scarred with that memory of greatness, like
Right.
to death. It was like one of my favorite moments. But it's like, what brought you in? What made you finally decide, like, yo, I got to jump into this?
So I was graduating high school and I've always like wanted to do it. I always had the belief in myself. I was like, dude, I think if I really went all in with this, there's potential to do something here. So I had known of Ellsworth being in the area and being like a local legend from being someone from the area to making it to TV. And I just shot him a DM one day. I was like, hey, dude, do you know how I can get involved in wrestling around here? And then he was like, yeah. And, he gave me the layout of everything. And, I put everything aside. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to dedicate some time to this. And just went in. And Ellsworth and Nick from the jump just started training me and getting me ready. And I think it was more so of like a thought that had been on my mind for a while, but I never knew if I was old enough to be able to pursue it in the correct way. So I turned 18 in December of 23, and by March of 24, I was in the wrestling ring for the first time, taking bumps. So,
Hmm, okay. Yeah, no, I remember like, and I remember seeing you, like we were talking about in the spring and summertime, whereas like, we talked about like what was in the business and what you wanted to accomplish and stuff like that. And it's funny to watch you continue to put your stuff together because I know like one thing that that Sicken likes to do is he always does the I'm gonna teach you how to wrestle and how to work, but I'm gonna expect you to do everything else on your own, whether it's like lifting, conditioning, all the other stuff that you got to do it on your own.
Oh yeah.
And but the one thing I do like about that place too is that you have so many talented people that come in and out that work there, that wrestle there, and I don't think a lot of people understand. They're like you can get advice from Ruckus, you can get advice from you know Van Williams, you can get advice from and I don't know if you've met Andino yet.
Yeah.
You can get advice from him. You run into guys like Rich Swan, he just
Yeah.
come through, and you're just like, whoa, what? These are all these big name stars that I'm running into and having conversations with, and so like the doors definitely open up when you get that chance. Another person too that runs through the area, that runs through that area too, especially, is Blizz. He's a guy who he did my first promo shots. He did my entrance theme song. Like he's like one of my close friends and mentor. Like it's cool to be able to like see all that spun up right from his place. So it's like one of those things where it's like, man, you get into somewhere like get to Nick's place and you get to learn so much about like everything that goes on with this business. So I mean, and then of course, Jimmy always be popping up there and just like talking to people about wrestling and his time. Tell you the time he beat AJ Styles 3 times.
Yeah.
He'll tell you all those stories.
Yeah, I loved what I love about Nick is, dude, he's so great at teaching you whatever you want to know. Like, if you want to know how to do something, he'll get in the ring with you and he'll show you it. And for me, anytime he showed me how to do something, it clicked like this. Like, he's so good at showing you how to do it, explaining how to correctly do it, and it always flowed well for me. I think that was huge in my phase of just like not even working shows and just only training. It was just like Nick, anything I wanted to learn how to do outside of the fundamentals, which we practice every day all the time because it's something you always got to do. But when adding layers to the cake, it's like, oh yeah, like that was easier than I expected. Like mental blocks, things that you never thought you could do in wrestling. It's like, oh, I see that on TV, but I don't think I can do that. Nick's like, I'll show you, man. Come here real quick, and then show you, that type of thing. And then with Jimmy, it's always like coming from a football background, coaches usually always just like tough love. Like, they're not gonna, just everything's sunshine, rainbows and flowers. No, like Jimmy's the same way. Like he gives it to you how it is. And but when you do get your props from him, it feels very good. But it's enough to keep you grounded, keep you humbled, and he's just very, very well for me and just guidance as well. Guidance and knowing this business. He's been in it forever at this point.
Yeah.
And he's been to the biggest stage. He's been all around. So it's also one of those times where it's like, if you have a question, if you're wondering about something, if you're trying to make a decision on how to do things, he's always a line that I have directly. Just, hey, how should I go about this? What do you think when it comes to making different decisions? So that's something, I'm forever indebted with.
No, yeah, he's a great dude to like to bounce ideas off of. And you're right, Nick is one of those dudes that like he'll teach you how to do everything that you need to know how to do in this business as far as like when work wise comes, and he'll help you develop. Like he helped me with my base layer of what my character was going to look like when we first started talking about it. He was like, I want you as this military dude, very straightforward, very like dedicated to to the mission and to the cause, and just go from there. And I remember like him and we tried it for like 6 months, and like it started to get over a little bit. It just wasn't feeling natural to me. I was just kind of like pushing it a little too hard. And so finally I was like, bro, I just gotta cut these promos. Like I want to cut them. And he's like, well, how do you want to cut them? And I remember just like going back and forth trading barbs with a friend of mine, and he was like, all right, I need you to cut a promo like that. And so I started cutting promos with like this whole like, hey, what's up, buddy? And then like just a whole different level of energy. And he was just like, yeah, I like this a lot. And then it started getting over a lot and started building more and more, and people started getting attached to it. And then I would just like start thinking of random shit that I wanted to say to people and then say it out loud. So like I remember one time I was working, I was at Voltage. Mr. Grimm, I don't know if you met him yet, but came in, just did a big wide splash, and he just stared at me. And I remember just looking at him, and I just went into his ear, and I was like, I love you. And he just like pushed me away.
Good friend.
It's just like I started thinking about like how could I like make this more fun and just like trash talking. And then of course my brothers who like are known all through the Baltimore and the DMV with pure ignorance. When I started driving with them, hanging out with them, talking with them, then you could see like the whole attitude of Red Dog shift from like, hey, here's this quirky, kind of fun loving guy. And then all of a sudden there's like we refer to him as the West Coast Red Dog, where he just has like this more brash attitude, talks a lot more trash, doesn't let people get under his skin. He actually gets under everybody else's skin because he doesn't have time for that. It's a lot of fun to play with that character and then, develop all the other parts of the characters that I'm trying to like keep working on. And I had a friend up here in Massachusetts named Bo Douglas who referred to it as the multiverse. And I was like, yo, that makes a lot of sense. And then he's like, and just like the multiverse, eventually you're gonna find Red Dog Prime, and like that's gonna be like the guy.
Yeah.
So I want you when you're developing these characters, your character, and you're working, don't be afraid to like go and play and expand and grow and grab other random things that go on with your character, because eventually you're gonna find like that single unit that you're gonna like from all shades of it, and you're gonna be like, this is my guy.
Right. Yeah. I think when it comes to character work for myself, I think I struggled very early, just within training, trying to figure out who I wanted to be. Debuting as a babyface, that debut match went over pretty easily as a babyface and getting the crowd behind me. It was a hometown. I had plenty of family there, so that made it very easy. Also, working a professional like Ben, knowing how to do things the right way with that. I think to this day, I still struggle with trying to and know how to be a babyface without being too generic. I think that's a common bridge that everyone has to cross eventually. When it comes to being a heel, I feel very comfortable, like I'm in my own skin. Like I think a huge part of that is Travis Norbert's right next to me. Um, so that always makes things a lot easier. But I also think that is something I've learned so much from. I think it's to the point where at PPW when I had my first match, um, me and Travis came out, and I got all the heat from Travis because those people were familiar with Travis. They weren't familiar with me yet, so it
Right.
was kind of just like prove to these people you can wrestle. You can go in the ring and go from there. So as times went on, I'm just like, all right, so I'm in this heel group. We got the big mastermind leader. What can I think of? What can I pull in comparisons from? And just watching the product in general, watching WWE, Dominic Mysterio, I was like, this is a young guy, egotistical, doesn't want to listen to anyone, kind of like a spoiled, bratty kid. I like this. I like this. And he's not quite the leader of something. But whoever's in the group is putting some stock into this guy. So I was like, that is very similar to what the position I am in at PPW. So I was like, let's start watching him, seeing what he does and some of his mannerisms and how he conducts himself. I started, I was like, okay. And I see a lot of times on TV, he'll just do the flex, dude, and rain of booze. So here recently, me and Dan had a match, and excuse me one second. We had a match, and in between, uh, moves, I go up to the crowd, I look at the hard cam, and I just go, do the flex, and I stick out my tongue. I turn away, dude, and it was the biggest rain of booze I've gotten yet in wrestling by doing something that simple while also, having that storyline I had with Dan. But I think as a heel, it's been so easy for me to figure out. I've been so comfortable taking guys like from Dominic, from Eddie Guerrero, from Seth Rollins, from Finn Balor. I think those four guys are huge inspiration to me from what I've watched and have been able to learn from them, and just trying to put it into myself, but also make it my own to be original. So,
Yeah, no, I like that. Those are some four pretty solid guys to pull from. I would even tell you like to go further back, right? Roddy Piper would definitely be like another one of those guys that like very brash, very hated by fans, but he was a bad guy the whole time, but people loved him. He eventually became like the baby face, but he was never even a baby face. He was still the bad guy that just everybody really liked, and he, like I said, he was just out there doing his thing. And then you still have guys that you can still kind of lean on, that you kind of watch, that does like a really great job of like talking, right? So when I think about like Ric Flair is definitely one of those dudes that you can watch listen to. You can see how he talks, his attitude, and then even if you took it to like I don't know, you can take it anywhere from there. But like one of the guys on the scene right now that I love watching talk, his name is Ricky Smokes. He refers to himself as the Smoke Show. He's on the indie scene right now. Actually, he's with WWE ID. He's a good friend of mine, and I think he's hilarious because like he does the pose and he just walks through and he flexes on people, but he's just got this brash attitude and he really lives it. You know, I mean, when the camera's on, like he is the you want to punch him because he is a dick,
Yeah.
and you want to lean into that a little bit too. So you know, like you could always say, of course, kind of like your MJFs, right? Like that's another name that a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people like that talks, but I I think Roddy's gonna always be like my top favorite when it comes to like heels who talk trash and just let people know who's in charge. I think that's a good kind of role model to kind of like follow through and like listen to like how he does, and even his cadence is just really unique too. Like it's not like anybody else that no one does it on the scene now. So I mean, it's a lot of fun. I would definitely tell you to implore that a little bit and try, see if you can sprinkle like some of his attitude that he's got into your mix. And then, and not even just stick with characters. Like, do you have any characters that you like that are like from like movies or TV shows that you want to include?
Um, I'm not too big on movies and TV, honestly. I think growing up, it was like you watch your WWE, you watch your football, you watch your baseball. That's kind of what I did. But movie series, Star Wars, but that is such a universe so big that it's like when comparing and trying to take things from, like you said, there's so many different options because like Star Wars is like never ending.
Yeah,
I think guys like I don't know. That's been a hard one. Like I've always liked the Anakin Skywalker character, but
right,
I don't think I think the way that I've been able to take from that and incorporate that is anger and how anger leads to impulsive decisions, impulsive actions. For example, like we had turned on Dan and kicked Dan out of our group. So as I'm doing every action in between actions, I'm making sure I grab Dan by his hair, pull his face up, make eye contact, yell at him, say hurtful things to him. When I go outside of the ring to grab a chair, his family is sitting right there, right by the where I'm grabbing the chair. Make sure I say some mean things to his family too, and just soak in every little bit of boo and you suck and I hate you and hearing just to hear it all, dude. I mean, there's been times now there that I go out and I'm greeted with middle fingers. So I think just taking things like that and just not just being bratty, but also having a hateful side where it's like, all right, if things get serious, this guy can do some damage too if he really wants to.
yeah, I like that. But you also, you know, another character you could also look at too is like Lando. You know what I mean? Like Lando is another great character that just doesn't really get the recognition that he has. Man. I mean, here's a guy who just he betrays his friends because you know he's just trying to get in good with the dark side, right? He's
Yeah.
trying to stay in with the Republic. He doesn't care about what's happening here. He just wants
Right.
to stay in his good graces, and so that's also like kind of same idea too. So those kind of characters, you got to look at like the shiftiness of how they move and stuff like that. I would definitely implore you to go through and start kind of like opening up like the wheelhouse of like just kind of movies, like whether like it's in an MCU. That's always kind of like the bland one to go with. And I say bland, not because the movies are bland. It's just that it's very clear like who's the good guy, who's the bad guy,
Yeah.
who's going to be the traitor, who's going to do this, and you can kind of see those characteristics and you can pull from some of those people. Um, and then also, you know, I always tell people like look for it in places that you don't think you're gonna find it, right? Like I love watching. Just people laugh at this now. I like watching musicals because there's always different characters, and then you can just watch how different actions get portrayed through like facials. So I always tell people like, "Yo, watch those things because those things are massive." You know, it was something I learned. I started learning a couple years ago and started getting better at here recently. Was like learning to sign because one thing about sign language is that you tell everything expressively through your face,
Yeah.
and it was something that I wanted to get conveyed across too, that like you know when you're in pain, like you know oh you really got to select the pain that you're in. So when you're talking the sign language, or when you're communicating in sign, sorry, uh you tell it through your eyes and through your face and through your body movements. And so I wanted to master that so that I could also do that in the ring. And so I think, you'll find those things, you'll find these little tips and tricks and things like that, and you'll get better at it and you'll work on it and then you'll grow. And you'll find your lane that you want to drive in.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty in wrestling, right? There's so many different lanes, dude, and there's so many different ways that you can pull things from places you never would think you could connect wrestling to, but somehow there's always a path of, yeah, this can connect to wrestling. And that, like, the rest, wrestling has the best of everything. I mean, you have entertainment, you have, athleticism, sports, acting, drama. I mean, it's all there. So when creating in wrestling, you have so many different valleys and avenues of creativity that you can pull from, where it's never ending. There's always a story to tell. There's always a new thing to do. There's always a new way you can do something. For example, like moves, people, everyone knows, it's hard to create a new move,
Yeah.
but everyone can put their own spin on a certain move to make it, oh, that's the way he does it. Oh, no, that's the way you know what I mean? So I think the avenues of creativity in wrestling make things, it's the beauty, and I mean, it's the art in wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. I know the one thing that I like to do. I love hitting spine busters. Mind you, Travis Norbert has a great spine buster. I will put that over and over, and I see it all the time, and I'm like, bro, that is gorgeous looking. But like I modified mine up so that, like if you've ever watched, like I pick a guy up and I have one hand on their back and one on their leg, and I leave the other leg hanging for the reason for me to sweep it out, so it just looks like I'm coming down with way more impact than what I'm actually coming
Mm.
down with. And I love hitting that move. I love doing it because no one else does it. Like
Yeah.
it is only me. So, well, at least if you could do it too, send it to me because I'd like to see. But yeah, it's just me right now. It is my own spin on it. So it's just like I like to add a little leg sweep in there because I think it looks cool. So I pop every time I see it. People put it in highlight videos and stuff like that, and I see it, and I'm just like, oh shit, that's me.
Yeah, dude, it feels good too when you do something like that, like you just said, like finding your own creativity in it, especially like with, like I said, moves that have already been done a multitude of times, that have been around for a while, and then finally finding a way to, this is the way I do it. Oh, how'd you figure that out? Oh, I came up with it. Like that credit to you is always something where you're like, all right, let me pat myself on the back, which is really hard to do in this business, man. Like it's a lot harder than it looks. It's a lot harder than anyone ever think it, is. It's physical, it's mental, it's a toll, dude. It's time consuming, but finding those moments where you're like, "Oh, I can pat myself on the back for that," is so rewarding when it finally does happen because it's not super common, you know.
100%. No, 100%. Yo, so you've been in for a little bit, man. I just kind of want to know what's the hardest lesson you've had to learn so far being in the business?
I think something I didn't expect coming in was the politics of wrestling. Um I think that's eye-opening to anyone when first getting into the business, and, how to kind of navigate the waters. I think of me just in general as who I am. I'm very respectful, down to earth, humble to everyone, but, you'll run into people where, you can be like that, but some people are just, very brash about stuff. And I don't know, man. I think it's hard to navigate. It's very, very difficult to navigate. It's difficult to explain to others who aren't in the business if they ask about it. It's just like you kind of got to experience it to get that understanding,
Yeah,
you know? So I think the politics of wrestling is the hardest thing, at least was the hardest thing for me to understand getting in.
I'm gonna be fair, man. I'm gonna tell you this. I've only politicked one time in my whole entire wrestling career. I just choose not to get involved with it, and I'll tell you the one time, right? And this is peeling back the curtain. Sorry to those, but I was working at a company at Focus Pro Wrestling, and I had wrestled this kid named Kid V, and I had put him over, And actually, a little bit ago, and this isn't like real politicking, I guess some people will see it this way. That's how I see it. So anyway, the promoter came to us and he's like, "Hey, I want you guys to work again, but he's gonna go over." I was like, "Well, why?" And he was like, "Well, just I just think it's gonna be good." I was like, "Let me. Can we run a rubber match in January?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, he beat me back in June. I take the victory now. I have a new manager, so let's get that going in the right direction. And then in January he can win." And he was just like, he looked at my boy Kid looked at me, and he was like, "I like it," and I was like, "I like it," and then the promoter was like, "I like it too." And so like we politicked out, and I can't wait. So in January, like for those who watch the show, spoiler, uh, yeah, that's gonna be happening at Focus Pro in January. I'm excited. Hopefully, card subject change. That's always a thing. But yeah, that was the plan because I was like, yo, I just want to I want to give more stakes to things, and to have a third match with somebody kind of shows like, hey, he's got like this little rivalry thing kind of going on with this person, and that's kind
Oh
of the
yeah, for
story I
sure.
want to tell. I don't. It's one thing to be stuck in like matches, like random matches with random people, and there's nothing really being told in that match or
Yeah.
like in the story.
Yes.
But to be able to like be at a place where you're going to be there either monthly, like pretty much every month, uh, it's nice to be able to be like to give the fans like that show like, oh yeah, I remember when he wrestled in last time. He won. Oh, he wrestled him this time. Oh, he won. Oh, I just want to see him get his ass beat this next time if whoever he's wrestling, and then you run it back, and then the crowd's gonna be more excited for that match because they realize like, oh, we've seen this before, but he won last time, so we were like trying to do like fun things to kind of retell stories that like happen. So it's happened a couple times now where I've told people, I'm like, yeah, dude, let's get this going, let's get that going. What do if it's okay with the promoter, like, can we talk about this? Can we get this done? So I love telling like I want to tell those stories because like I said, like I don't got much more time left in this. I just want to be able to have some fun and tell some fun ass stories.
Excuse me. Sorry. Sinuses are killing me, bro. But yeah, like I said, or building off what you said, I mean, I think another hard lesson learned in wrestling is, or not hard lesson learned, maybe, but more so like a very difficult roadblock to jump is when you're wrestling without a prior told story. Like you said, it's very, especially as a babyface, it's very hard to get others behind you. It's such a challenge if they don't have a reason of why they think you should beat the bad guy other than, you coming out and being, let's go, let's go, and showing that you morally do things right. But I think it's so hard to win over a crowd, especially on the indies when that you're not guaranteed those people just followed you from the prior show. Even if you're telling something, I
Yeah.
think that's a very big roadblock, especially for me, just being when I am a babyface. But I think all things come with time. December for me marks 1 year working on shows, so I'm still very new in everything. I don't even have my toes wet yet, but I think that's another roadblock that I faced early on, and still continue to try to figure out and navigate.
That's why I love this show. I'll be fair. I've been doing this show, like I said, for 6 years. I'm gonna tell you what TJP told me was that in the business, you learn that there's two jobs, right? There's the good guy and the bad guy, right? The baby face and the heel. And the baby face's job is to connect with the audience, and the heel's job is to take away anything that the audience wants, right? So as a baby face, like if things work the way they're supposed to, right? Sorry, peeling all the curtains back for this one. uh, Usually that heel's gonna go out first, and they're going to get the crowd to hate them, And for you as a baby face, your job is to connect with those fans as quickly as possible and to get them on your side because at the end of the day, they want someone to fight for them, right? So your job is to fight for the people. The heel's job is to fight you, you know. So he's hitting you, he's talking trash to the fans. Boom, this is what you got. Boom, this is your person. Boom, what do you think about this now? Boom, 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 right? Your job is to fight back, and as the crowd starts to cheer for you, because you have that never die attitude or that high going spirit, they're gonna buy into more of what you're doing. So your job when you first come out that curtain, man, is to get them to accept you quickly. And I'm not gonna share this with you here. I'll tell you post. Like just some of the ways that I do it because it's easy. It's easy to connect with the people if you can, you get them hyped, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I'll talk to you more about it. I don't want you guys getting all the secrets. All right, you got to get into this business to understand what happens. But I could tell you like how I do it, and it would just you can kind of pull from there as far as like using this for like a baby face kind of stuff. Um, Let me take this over to my favorite part of the Three Count Podcast before we wrap this up, right? So this is the Three Count Podcast, 10 count questions. And Mr. LaBelle, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast, and you're just going to give me whatever answer first pops in your head.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to put on the imaginary timer for add pressure. Bing! And in the words of my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw,
Favorite cartoon?
regular show.
Let's go. Marvel or DC?
DC.
Favorite TV show?
Beavis and Butthead.
Let's go. Coffee or tea?
T.
Favorite movie?
Star Wars.
Waffles or pancakes?
Pancakes.
Favorite podcast?
This one.
That's
Three,
right. It's the best one.
three count
That's
pod.
right. Whatever he says. Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
One person was on this podcast. Let's go, Dan Stavko.
Let's go. Dan Stocko definitely needs to be on this show. And last but not least, my favorite question is to ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word?
I can swear on this.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, Fuck, right? I
It's
mean, I
gotta
just
be.
feel like, stub your finger, I'm always at work working with stuff like I do electrical work, I'm working in a small space, the wrench slips, I bang my finger. Oh, that's the first thing that leaves my mouth, man. It's impossible to not.
The only reason why, so if you trying to figure out like why like I haven't been cursing on the show is because I match other people's energy. So if you don't curse on the show, I'm not gonna
Ah,
curse on the show.
okay, okay.
But the moment that you start cursing, I start going off too. Because I want to match people where they're at and not like have them like be like, oh man, like yeah. I was like, nah, man, just let loose, fucking let it go,
Yeah,
bro.
let it
You
go,
good.
dude. Yeah, that's me at work, bro. Like I said, anytime little things like happen or something that I can't get working at work, bro, it's a storm, but it is what it is.
Bet. Well, listen, man, those are all my questions I have for you. This was a great interview. I loved being back now after a couple months. So, last thing I need you to do is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
For all wrestling purposes, Instagram at Sean Labelle Pro. That's usually the only social that I use for wrestling outside Facebook. It's Sean Dubiel, Dubiel, and Facebook and Instagram are the two places you can find me when supporting me for all wrestling purposes.
Boy, you need to get yourself an X account.
I do. I have one. It's from it's all my high school football stuff when I was trying to get recruited into college. So
Yeah.
it's like all my college, high school football stuff. I need to wipe it and just put it
Nah,
fully
keep it
geared
and then
toward
make a
wrestling.
whole new X account and then just make it your pro wrestling one.
Too many logins, too many passwords, man.
Bro, like, I'm gonna be honest. All you guys know out there, you can find me all under the same social media platform, which is the underscore red dog 85. All social media platforms. Make it easy. Make it
You get
easy for
like
yourself.
that, dude.
Yeah, this is Sean
Get
LaBelle
those.
Pro on X. That's it, bro. That's his
Coming
name.
soon. Coming soon. Soon. Coming soon.
Yeah, well, you guys know what that means. We've got to wrap this up here. So, like every great wrestling match, we gotta take this home because this is the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why it's never about me; it's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring? You see the man right there, Sean LaBelle. You guys know what that means. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately following us on all of our social media platforms. You're checking us out on YouTube. You're even listening to us on Spotify. You're leaving us 5-star frog splash reviews off the Empire State Building. onto the Apple Podcast. You're even checking us out on Amazon Music and that dumb app with the stupid jingle that goes iHeartRadio or whatever it is. You're buying our merch on ProWrestlingTees.com. You're checking out our merch on ForYourWear.com. You're telling your mom about it, your dad about it, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your grandmas, your grandpas, and your enemies, because we love haters too. Doing all that stuff, but really, you're just kind of waiting for this episode to end, waiting for that outro, and then choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii! What's up? It is your friendly neighborhood Red Dog, and thank you for checking out this episode of the 3 Count Podcast. Whether that was Chaz and Friends, Red Dog Friends, Damien Friends, The Film Styles, Now Into the Ring, Now Entering 201, or Now Returning to the Ring, all those good episodes, you should really be liking, commenting, and even sharing this with your friends, family, whoever it may be. But what you all should be doing is checking us out on all of our social media platforms at 3 Count Pod, whether that's on IG, Twitch, you can check us out on Threads, whatever it may be. And if you go check us out on X, it is 3count_pod. Check us out on YouTube, as well as Facebook, on Rumble, on Apple Music, on Spotify, all those fun things. Tell your mom about us, your dad about us, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, and your best friends and your enemies, because we love haters too. Do all that stuff. And then, last but not least, buy our merch on foryourwear.com or ProWrestlingTees.com. Kawaii.